here is we can please God by living in love. From Paul's letter here, verses 9 through 12, we see that this is not necessarily something the believers in Thessalonica need to hear. He says in verse 9, "Now concerning brotherly love, you have no need for anyone to write to you, for you yourselves have been taught by God to love one another, for that is indeed what you are." Even still, Paul says this in the second part of verse 10, "But we urge you, we implore you, we plead with you, brothers, do this more and more." I would love for Paul to write me a letter and tell me, "Hey, you're doing this thing, and there's really no need for anybody to write to you because you're doing a really good job of it." That would make you feel really good, right? Like if you got a letter in the mail tomorrow that said from the Apostle Paul, second prison cell on the left in Rome, and he said, "Hey, you're doing a good job at this," that would make you feel really good, right? But what does Paul do here? He says, you don't need anyone to write you a letter because you've learned really well. We never stop growing closer to Christ. We never stop trying to be the gospel to the world around us. The Thessalonian church is marked by their love, a love only learned by knowing God. But Paul still says, we urge you to do this more and more. Church, we can always be doing more and more to love people with the gospel. We should never say, hey, we've arrived, we found the right amount of events and outreaches to love our community. We're not going to do anything else to love them. Paul says here, you can always be doing more to love people. Along with loving, Paul tells them to take care of their affairs, to work hard, and to walk properly. What does he mean by this? Well, we know from the study of the church in Thessalonica that there were believers in the church that were living off of the wealthier Christians in the church in Thessalonica. That they just decided, well, I don't have to work. The wealthier Christians will. Why do I have to work so you don't have to? And I want you to think, because this is a great analogy of what it feels like as an American when the government says, I'm going to take your hard-earned money and I'm going to give it to somebody else. We don't like that. And what happens is, in our natural human state, we begin to resent the people that are getting our money, whether they deserve resentment or not, right? We start to look, well, why do you not have to work? Well, I might as well just not work either so somebody else can pay my way. Right, and we spiral down this path of resentment and division, and what is that not? It's not the love of God. And what Paul is trying to tell them is you have to handle your business. Everything that you do is a reflection of your faith, an example of your love. When we don't deal with our issues, with our responsibilities, it affects other people. It is not loving toward them. We need to be a people who handle our business. We should not become a burden to the world, and we should not be a burden to the church. Now, the church is here to help and to carry one another. We learn in Acts, what did the early church do? They were selling their possessions to make sure that everybody had what they needed to take care of one another.